Hi, it's Doc and Skip from the Morning Blaze with Doc and Skip.
A little redundant there.
Every weekday morning, we bring you the collision of common sense and comedy.
Okay, now what does that even mean?
It means we discuss current topical stories that matter to people in an entertaining way.
Well, I mean, you and I find them entertaining.
Anyway, follow us on Twitter and tell us what you learned throughout the program with the hashtag #WhatILearnedToday.
That's really just an excuse for us to slack off the last segment, as it's written by you, the listener.
Hear the show on demand anytime at theblaze.com/doc.
That's theblaze.com/Doc and Skip.
Oh, so now you want to be a part of this? Now you.
It's time to Stand for Truth with the host of Stand for Truth Radio, Susan Knowles.
And welcome to the show, everybody. I am your host, Susan Knowles. So glad that you could be with us today. Please check out my website at susanknowles-com, where you'll find all of the articles I write as a contributor for The Blaze and Joe for America. And also, please follow Stand for Truth Radio on Spreaker.com, or just download the Spreaker app to your phone and take us with you 24/7. Today, I have a returning guest that I asked to come on because of something that she did on Tuesday, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a second, but let me introduce you to her. Her name is Zanda Mand Ervin. She's the founder and director of the Alliance of Iranian Women. During the Iranian Islamic Revolution, Manda witnessed the execution of many innocent people, including her high school principal, who was murdered because she was a woman, and the Secretary of Education. She witnessed the human rights of the Iranian people, especially the women, taken away from them. She witnessed her homeland leaving the 20th century to turn backward, and she witnessed the impact of that. Manda came to the United States as a political refugee on June 17, 1980, and became a citizen of the United States 3 years later and began her fight for human rights in Iran. So let's welcome back to the program Zanda Mand Ervin. Manda, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
So glad that you could be with us today. I know it was kind of short notice. I called you because I understood that you did something yesterday I thought would really interest my audience. Can you tell us about what you did yesterday?
Well, yesterday there was a press conference at in front of the Capitol Hill, and a group of patriots were there to speak their mind about this deal between President Obama and the so-called Supreme Leader Khamenei in Iran. And since I am one of those patriots who's against this deal, and since I know what goes on inside Iran, and I know who the clergies, Shiite clergies in Iran are capable of, and what their history and culture is. So I joined in to speak and give some information that I have that normally in America most of the Americans would not know about.
And tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about what you talked about with a little bit of the history of Iran.
Well, as everybody knows, and even President Obama has said a couple of times, that Iran has a great civilization and history, and unknowingly he has attributed all the Iranian civilization, culture, and contribution to human civilization to the mullahs, to the Shiite clergies who are not even Iranian. Iran has been, first of all, the first nationhood created by human race, and the creator of the country, the Persian Empire, which we called Iranian Empire. The Greeks called us Persian Empire. He was the man who has even influenced the Constitution of the United States in freedom of worship and respect for all religions. Coming from that culture in 16th century, a Turkish tribe, sort of separated from Ottomans, attacked my homeland, Iran, and occupied Iran and established their dynasty. Since they were Shiite, and Iran never had a national religion, and everybody was free to worship however they wanted to, since they were Shiite, they decided they're going to turn Iran into a Shiite country, and therefore they imported Shiite clergies from Lebanon. The Arab Shiites who lived in Lebanon, they imported a group of Shiites clergies from Lebanon, and they established Shiism in Iran in full force, and so they have been they were supported by that dynasty, and they became more powerful as time went on, until late 1800s, when the people of Iran, especially women of Iran, was uprising intellectually and physically. There was a revolution, constitutional revolution for modernity, that the king was forced to sign, and in 1906, and then the country established a new system of government, a constitutional government, not the rule of king and clergy. And America was a great supporter of Iranian people and Iranian revolution at that time. President Taft even sent a group of Americans that Iranians had requested for, to establish a modern system of government for Iran. And but the clergies would not let go, and the fight between women and clergies continued until 1968. And although the people fought and the Shah fought, but unfortunately the influence of the left, socialism, communism in Iran, since we have 6,000 miles border with the Soviet Union at that time, and less with Russia now, and we had been a colony of Russia and Britain for 100 years with the help of the clergies. So Iranian women had to fight for their own right, because the men gave in to the clergies for the rights to not secularize the family laws and let the family laws remain under Sharia law, which means the right of women who had fought for the constitutional revolution. But the women fought for 60 years, and until 1971, when we were completely and totally equal in Iran, and we had members of the parliament, members of the senators. I was one of the first women I had just graduated from University of Southern California, economist, and started working because I was on government scholarship. So, and in 1978, I became the first woman to be managing director of the Customs Administration. So, but unfortunately, it didn't last long, and the Islamist, the regime, the clergies, took over again.
And that's who we have.
I don't know.
And that's who we have basically in charge right now in Iran. That's who.
Yes.
That's who we've been negotiating with. I think that needs to be clear, and I think most Americans know that now. But that's who we've been negotiating with. These are people who believe in Sharia law. They're not. They're not looking at men and women as equal. They're not looking at let's have a republic. These are people who believe in their own government, their own power, and doing whatever they can to rule the nation, rule the world. Is that fair to say? I mean, is that kind of how you see them?
Let me give you a couple of examples of what the founder of this regime, Ayatollah Khomeini, who was befriended by President Carter, what he said. When he took over Iran, he was flying into Iran. An American reporter on the plane asked him, how do you feel about going back to Iran, about Iran? And he said, Hichi. Hichi in Persian language means nothing, absolutely nothing. That's what it means. The translator said, well, Your Eminence, these are, Western Europeans. You better, say something else. He said, you say what I have said. But the translator did not say what he said. He said, the Eminence doesn't want to respond to that question. Mm-hmm. That was the first thing that proves that these people have no feelings for Iran. They hate Iran and Iranians. Anyway, then he said afterwards, many, many times, he said repeatedly that Iran to us is a base and a financial source to spread Islam throughout the region and the world. And we will do that no matter what. And if we have to sacrifice the whole country, it's the price that we have to pay. Wow. This is the philosophy of these people.
And how well are they going to be able to do that should this Iranian deal go through?
Well, it's obvious. $150 billion frozen assets of Iranian people that the Iranian opposition and 94% of Iranian people inside the country were hoping that this money would be saved and put aside for the day that they overthrow the regime and they can use this money to rebuild the country. But then now President Obama gave it to them. And they have been after this money for a long time. During Clinton administration, and President Clinton refused to give it to them. They didn't dare to ask Reagan because during those years they were in an 8-year massacre, bloodshed war that killed about 1 million young boys of Iran, and so on and so forth. So now they have $15 billion in cash. And we see this construction worker who's now being called by American media General Soleimani. He's a construction worker. The rest of the Revolutionary Guards are all illiterate bunch of backwards people who are there to join in the power. And so these people are going around and spending the $150 billion. The first step, the old friend, Russia, right, who has had a good relationship with the Shiite clergies of Iran before, and now they're back in Iran and working together with the regime, and they are selling them this S-300 missiles that they are buying from Putin, and Putin is happy to indulge with the money that he's getting that he needs. And they're also making deals with the Germans and with the Chinese and North Koreans, and Pakistan needs money. They are giving money to them for support for further their nuclear bombs, and they are paying most of the money to Hezbollah, to Hamas, to Houthis in Yemen, and spending money to protect Bashar Assad and buying arms for him to kill his people. And when one of them, Ayatollah Rafsanjani, was in an interview on television in Iran last year, and he said, "Well, we will the first bomb we make, we are going to send it to Israel." And the reporter said, "But Your Eminence, you're going to be killing a whole bunch of Muslims, more Muslims than Jews." He said, "Well, that's the price that Allah wants us to pay."
Wow.
This is what the consequences of this deal is.
Well, and also, people, I think, just ignore that maybe not that Iran is going to abide by any deal, but why not have someone, maybe Russia, maybe another country, make the nuclear bombs for you? That's nothing to prevent them from doing that. They can certainly pay for that now with the $150 billion that they will get in the deal, if and when the deal goes through. So why does no one speak of that type of thing?
Well, unfortunately, it seems like our foreign policy has completely fallen apart. And we are watching Mr. Putin taking over, some of the Central Asian countries like Georgia, and taking over Crimea and eastern part of Ukraine, and they are going to keep coming and moving and taking over wherever they can, as long as we're sitting and watching. And so it seems that Mr. Putin has given the carte blanche to do whatever he wants and make deals, whatever deal he wants, with whoever he wants. And then he does. Why shouldn't he, according to them, make deals with Iran and sell not only political geography, change the political geography of geopolitics of the international community, also make a lot of money and sell their products. So this is natural. As long as there is nobody to stop them, they can do anything they want to. I just had an email that said Russia. It was the man who's the head of the Iranian nuclear energy programs, who has announced that they are signing a contract with Russia to build 2 more nuclear energy facilities on the Persian Gulf coast. So, Putin has charged Iran over $800 billion to upgrade the old nuclear energy plant. Now they are standing to make some more billions by signing these new contracts by the Iranians. And let me tell you one thing, because these people, everything that they are doing is illegal, is in a rush, and they are dealing with friends, and they are buying supporters in United Nations for votes, everything that they are buying is at a highest price in the market, because they don't negotiate. They do not have the power to negotiate, because they want to buy friends. And you're speaking of the Iranians are paying high prices. Yes, of course. Everything, all the nuclear product that they buy, everything that nuclear scientific whatever that they need, that they are buying. First of all, they buy them in black markets.
Mm-hmm.
And black markets, you know how expensive they are.
Right.
How overpriced the black markets are. And then markets, they are paying whatever the country's governments are asking, because that's not the issue. With the money that they are giving in the deal they are making with them, they are buying votes in United Nations. And that's the main issue for them. The issue is not money, is not helping Iran, is not being, caring for the country or the people. It is to buy themselves votes and support in international community. And that's how they got P5 plus 1. Five
Wow.
of them plus 1, which is United States, probably not, but they were already in the tank with them. But those P5s are already signing contracts, great contracts on gas and oil all over Iran with this regime for cheap prices. And that's how they vote for them to become a member of the committee for the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women. The last country, government, that should be a member of that committee would be regime in Iran.
So basically, the
gender apartheid regime.
The United States is basically then helping them get a stronger foothold, a stronger vote in the UN.
Absolutely.
By this deal. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we know that. We have to have know about that as we're doing this deal. And that's something that no one is speaking about. You're the first person that I've heard that has brought that up. And we know how this president is so much in favor of the UN, and how we want that he wants the UN to have more power and clout, not only in other countries, in the United States. And so that's just helping the effort. It makes us in the UN's eyes look like we're on board and we're helping out, and essentially we are by this deal and helping Iran. And also one thing that you mentioned I think is important. People are saying that this deal, part of the Iran deal, will mean that we will need to protect Iran in the event that their nuclear operations are sort of invaded, if you will, by Israel. And everybody's saying, well, that's not going to happen. Nobody's going to go and affect Israel. But what you've just said is that's what they've talked about, and we all know that with common sense, that they do not like Israel. They want to destroy Israel, and that's one thing that they're going to do, and that will mean that we will be turning our backs potentially on Israel if we are saying in this agreement that we're going to protect Iran.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's ridiculous.
Yes. One of the issues in this contract, it's not all about nuclear bomb or anything. It covers a lot of issues. One of the issues that it's covering is that United States have now promised to be the protectors of the regime, of the Islamist regime in Iran. Not the country of Iran, not the people of Iran who are living under tyranny and economic bankruptcy and corruption, and their children are starving. Not only the people of Iran, the United States has signed this treaty or deal or whatever they want to call it, to protect the regime of Iran from any foreign attack of any kind.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, and you've always made the point.
The main reason that Iranian people are wondering, this America that has always been on our side and has defended us for almost 100 years, now is selling us out to the worst tyrants that human history has seen.
And I think it's important, Manda, because you always remind me of this, that the Iranian government is different from the Iranian people. And I think that is important to remember, that it's just like in the United States. The majority of people here are not in favor of this Iran deal, and they are totally opposed to it, and yet our government is moving forward to do what they want to do. And the same with Iran. It doesn't mean that the Iranian people are in support of this government. And as you've described it, the people in Iran are different in a large number of ways from the Iranian government. So I think that's always good to remind ourselves in America about that, because we only see what the government does, and, it's not a good impression. One other thing that I wanted to also ask you, Saudi Arabia in the beginning was totally against this deal. So tell me why you think they suddenly changed their minds and are now in favor of it.
Well, you have to find out what President Obama has promised them. They have been promised any kind of military equipment that they want. They want fighter jets, or they want tanks, or bombs, or chemicals, or nuclear, whatever they want. They have been promised, and they are now making a deal with Putin, with Russia, because Russia is at all times is standing there waiting for America to lift a foot off anywhere, and for Russians to step in and take over, which unfortunately in America, the danger of the Russians' power and power grabbing has always been undermined and not paid attention to. Even the media or the governments don't. I mean, we as an Iranian, when we look at our history, how Russians have looted our country for 100 years and have taken every penny, every grain of wheat that the people of Iran have made for themselves. The Russians have taken them by force and by even bombing the parliament that Iranians had built for the first time. We know what Russia is capable of doing and how power hungry and dominating Russia is. But United States is not looking at Russia that way. It was President Truman understood Russia. That's why at the end of the World War, when the Russians refused to leave Iran, Truman sent a letter, said, you either leave Iran in 6 weeks or I will return the American military halfway back home, back to Iran, and the Second World War is not over. And in 5 weeks, the Russians left Iran. The last soldier left Iran. And that's how the Cold War began. But what the main issue is here is that Russians are standing there waiting to take over wherever United States stands back. Now, Russians are in Syria. Russians are making deals with, since we shunned the president of Egypt, not we, President Obama shunned president of Egypt. Now the Russians are making deals with him. Saudi Arabia is also going to Russia to make deal with Russia. Syria, Russia through Iran has been supporting Bashar Assad in Syria for last couple of years. And I promise you, before President Obama is gone, Middle East is totally belongs to the Russians. And God helps the next president who may want to take back the freedom and democracy in the Middle East.
And what do you see, like if this deal goes through, what does the entire landscape of the Middle East, how does that change, if at all, or what does it look like afterwards?
Well, absolutely. I mean, we have in Iran we have a whole bunch of proverbs, and a lot of them about the clergies, the Shiite clergies, which are not respected culturally and historically for the last 400 years that they have dominated our country. But we have, like for example, in old times when there was caravans, that people traveled with caravans, there was a rule among the caravan leaders, the people who led the caravans from one city to another, one town to another village. Those caravan leaders, caravan runners, they had a policy. Two kinds of people are too much of a trouble and cause problem, which we should not take as passengers with our caravans. One kind is the prostitutes that create problem. Number two is clergies, Shiite clergies, who create problem, and you don't want to have them in your caravan.
Right.
This is how Iranian people look at the clergies, at Shiite clergies who are ruling their country now. And that's why they need revolutionary guards and revolutionary judiciary and revolutionary parliament and revolutionary everything to keep the people under control and in prisons so nobody would dare to rise up. But of course, when they did rise up, hoping that United States is going to come support and help them, Mr. Obama ignored them. And when the people marched on the streets in 2009, kept saying, Obama, Obama, are you with them or with us? Well, President Obama proved that he's with them, with the regime, not with the people.
Right.
And had he gone, supported the people, had he spent that 2 years supporting the Iranian people, had he given that $150 billion that he gave to the regime that Iranian people were counting on to rebuild their countries by, had he done that, today you and I, nobody would be worrying about Iran wreaking havoc or killing people or throwing a nuclear bomb to Israel. And Iran would be a peaceful, democratic member of the international community and a friend of United States and Israel today. We wouldn't have to go through all of these.
Well, and it looks like, with $150 billion, again, you can buy a lot of things and you can do a lot of damage and you can get a lot of people to help you do that. And
of course.
And it looks like, that's where we're headed to in that event. What do you foresee for America should this deal pass?
Well, what you see, aside from what this regime can do, the clergies, the nature of clergy, they are desperate because they know they don't have the nation, the people of Iran. The people of Iran are lined up against them, 94%. And what they need is international community to keep them in power. And therefore, they'll do anything possible to take control of international community, which is to bribe everybody with contracts and with free money and create international terrorism all over the place. And while they are promoting their Islamism or Islam, they are also buying friends, and these friends are going to be empowered to stand against America also and do. So it's not just going to be Iran against America. Putin and the rest of the system, the international system, like Russians and North Koreans and so on and so forth, they're all going to be building a gang of anti-America. And let's hope that that's not going to happen.
Well, and we all know that, Israel is going to protect itself. And, it'll be horrible, but interesting to see, what happens at that time. And I know that, there are a lot of Americans that are speaking out there on Capitol Hill today, speaking out. Is there anything else, that we haven't done? And I want to commend you again and say thank you for going there and speaking up on behalf of America to try to talk some sense into people in our Congress and the president, which I think is a waste of time, but talking sense into people about what's going on and how they're being lied to about this deal. I really do, as an American, appreciate that you, as another American, took the time out to go there and try to send the message of what we're really getting involved in. But is there anything else that we can do as Americans to try to prevent this deal, or is it just a foregone conclusion? That's just it.
Well, I presume it's a foregone conclusion, unfortunately and sadly, because it seems like this President Obama does not believe in democracy and does not believe in the will of the people. And although he knows a huge majority of American people oppose this deal, he goes on and does whatever he wants. And we have seen him during these last 7 years that he has done what he wanted, and probably, now this is probably a joke or being funny, but he feels very much like Khamenei because he likes to rule by himself, and he wants to be the authoritarian dictator. Was he able to do it? And we have seen that he has proven that as far as he can go, he has been doing what he wanted and not what the people wanted. So that is unfortunately true, and God knows what's going to happen, what would happen in the world, and what hopefully who would be the President of the United States next. How fast we can stop this deal.
And I'm wondering if the president, if there is one at this point. I mean, the way we're going, we're turning into a country again that most of us do not recognize. But can a president undo the damage that's been done on this deal? Will there be something that can be set aside? I mean, we have right now Congress, although that is a majority for Republicans in the House and the Senate, we don't do anything. We really don't. All we do is say, oh, you know what? We can't do that now. It's not the right time. So here you go, Mr. Obama. You can have everything you want. Oh, and let's just add a couple more things on top of that. That's what we do. And if that's what the next president is going to be, then we might as well just hang it up because we're not going to get anywhere. And I know, a lot of...
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I know a lot of people like Donald Trump, and I don't know if he's all talk or if he will do something. Right now, we don't need a talker. We need a doer.
Right. Yeah. Well, the one issue is that the president and his followers keep saying that we can snap back the sanctions. Well, everybody knows that you cannot snap back the sanctions. It took us 4 years to freeze a bank account, an Iranian regime Quds Force bank account in Seoul, Korea, with $200 million in it that they were spending in North Korea to buy whatever arms that they want. So if it takes 2 solid years to freeze one bank account in South Korea imagine how long it's going to take to freeze the other bank accounts, especially when France Total Oil Company is signing a big, huge gas and oil contract with cheap prices. When Germany just is negotiating, the Minister of Energy of Germany and the Energy of Iran, Zanda, they are making deals to sell gas and oil from Iran to Germany. The Scandinavian countries have been paying huge bribes, like $4 million, to the sons of the clergies to make deals for 30 years of oil contract and gas contract from Iran. And how would you think a president of the United States would be willing to, and let's not forget that Europe is not like the United States, that gas and oil companies belong to the public sector. All of the European countries, the government owns the controlling majority shares of the oil companies. And so therefore, when these people make these huge long-term contracts with this regime, do you really think that they will go along or oppose the regime to work with the next president of the United States, no matter what United States would have to offer them? That's not going to be easy at all.
Well,
so the sanctions won't be snapped back forever.
Right.
But the next president should be wise enough or smart enough and have people who know what to do to, do other things, probably support the people and create a revolution in Iran.
Well, and, ideally, seems like that would be the greatest thing to do. But, I was thinking, too, while you were talking, that, when you get kind of money, there's no incentive to do anything right. Not that they would anyway, based upon what you've said. But there's no incentive. You've gotten all the reward. Why do you need anybody else to help you at this point? You can do whatever you want to do.
Absolutely.
And additionally, we're talking about the devaluation of our dollar all the time by the Chinese and all that. Well, what's to prevent, Iranians from the government from doing the same thing? Instead of trading with a petrodollar, just going to gold or whatever else they make up. And then what? What happens to us?
Yeah.
There's so many things.
Go with Chinese.
Yeah.
They have a good relationship with China. They have killed all the Iranian industry to import the same stuff from China.
Yeah.
The sons and the children of all of these old clergies, their children who are all Harvard and Yale and Stanford graduates or Oxford graduates, they're all making deals all over the world for themselves to put money in their own pockets, not for the country or anything like that.
Well, I can't see really one thing that is a disadvantage to Iran in this whole deal. I mean, we literally, we've built them up. We've given them all the money that they could ever, possibly get. Yeah. We've helped them with their position in the UN. We're helping them with their position in building up a regime around them to come after whomever, including us, whomever they want to do. There's no downside for them because we don't even have our own inspectors that are going to be allowed to go in there. Not that it'd be a joke anyway, but we don't have inspectors that can go in there and look at anything. We're basically saying, here, you do whatever you want. Wink, wink. We're going to, come and inspect you every now and then. We'll send somebody else, wink, wink. And so you be good boys, and don't do anything wrong, and we'll be okay. And we're, as the American public, we know that's a joke. And we're sitting here just waiting. I think they probably already have the nuclear bombs, and they don't, there's nothing else to build. we don't know. I mean, they hide things and everything else. We've been told that they do that. People are saying, well, 10 years down the road, Israel, they'll go against Israel. I think it's going to be much sooner than that. I think there's a great possibility that it can be, a month away, maybe less. I mean, whenever the deal goes through, when it's all done, again, there's nothing to prevent them from doing anything that they want to do, in my opinion.
Absolutely. They're desperate, and they don't care, and they have a mission.
What do you think right now that the Iranian people, the ones that are basically stuck right over there, what's going through their minds? What are they thinking to themselves? What do they see their short-term and long-term futures as?
Well, the people of Iran very upset of America. You see, like in the United States, everybody is talking about Iranians, not the Iranian regime.
Right.
They keep saying Iranians, that really Iranians are not very happy about that issue.
Right.
The same thing happens in Iran. People don't say President Obama. They say America.
Mm-hmm.
That's how everywhere in the world people address. So they say, why is America selling us out to the tyrants? Why we ask America for their support, but America is supporting our tyrant? Why doesn't America stand with us instead of standing with the regime? And so this is now, Iranian people really love America. During the 2009 uprising, when the regime brought those their own rent-a-crowds, the Revolutionary Guards gang, to yell, death to America as their usual, those kids who were uprising, they were on the streets with green ribbons around their fingers and yelling and screaming, Obama, Obama, are you with them or with us? When those people started saying death to America, the kids on the other side of the street started saying death to Russia.
Wow.
That is what they said. They chanted death to Russia, death to Russia, death to Russia. The meaning is, it's obvious because Iranian people hate Russia because of the history that we have had with them. And they also hate Russia because they are friends of the regime. And they protected America against the regime by screaming death to Russia. But they were sold out by America. And when President Obama takes over the United States, 7 years ago when he became president, he kept saying, wrong foreign policy in America has made enemy for America. The world hates America. That's not true. He made enemy out of Iranian people who loved America because America has really helped Iran, has stood by Iran in a lot of bad situations with the British, with the Russians, with the whole world, and has protected Iranian sovereignty. And it's very popular. And the Americans who fought the Russians and the British alongside Iranians, and they got killed. And their statues are all over the country, and they are, their names are in the history books and everything. And so he turned enemy of Iranian people, of a good friend, Iranian people. He turned them to enemy of America, but what he did. And then somebody should tell him, maybe I should write an article about this issue, that he made enemies of a whole bunch of people in the world for America.
Right.
It was his foreign policies that created all this enemy for America.
Well, there's a couple things about him. The one thing he does really well, besides playing golf, is the fact that he can turn anyone against any group that he wants. He's very, very good. We see that, civil unrest in the United States. We see that, just what you pointed out with the Iranian people now thinking, America is against them, and so they become angry at Americans. He's really good at doing that, and he does that. It's a divide and conquer, and he's always done that throughout his entire presidency, and he's going to continue to do it, and I think he's just going to amp it up. And I think this Iranian deal is just, again, one more indication of how he's made this happen. He's brought this about very quietly, didn't give up, subtly. They didn't think they had a deal, and they just kept going over there. And when they were talking and negotiating, and moved the deadlines and all that, because they have a progressive agenda. That's what they've done. They're at the very last part of that progressive agenda right now in this particular deal, and he's convinced a lot of the Democrats to vote with him. I think these people are going to have to someday look themselves in a mirror and answer to a higher calling that says to them, this is what you've done. You helped create this, and you are going to have to take responsibility for this. Because, again, as we know, the American people are behind this. If it were up to the Americans, and like 78% are against this deal, this would never happen. And, it's going to take divine intervention. It really will, to not allow this deal to go through. And, there's always a chance of that. I hope so. But the way it stands right now, it's pretty much a done deal.
Well, unfortunately, I think it is. And one last reminder is that the Islamists, the fanatic, the Muslims,
right,
are anti-America. The left is anti-America.
Right.
And between Mr. Obama on the left, or if it is called progressive, not the left, but in Iran, in Iranian political culture, we call them communists, because we lived next door to a powerful communist who wanted to take over our country. And the Islamists, they have always been friendly to each other. They both have the same causes, and they both want dictatorial rule, and both of them are anti-America because American culture scares them.
Right.
And they oppose the American culture, the individualism, the stand for freedom, all of that scares them, and they don't want to keep that. So they want to change it, and they want to keep it away from their society, as the Muslim idiots are in the Middle East, the regime in Iran. It's not American policy. America didn't do anything to Iran, did a lot of things for Iran. It was the British and the Russians who had Iran under their colony and looted Iran for over 100 years. Not America. America never got anything from Iran. But why do the Muslims are friendly with Russians and the British, but they hate America? It's because the culture of America scares them. Because this culture is loved, and the people want to have that culture. And therefore they lose their followers, they lose the constituency, and they will, fall apart and get diminished as they were in 1970s. That's why, so therefore, the issues between Mr. Obama and Khamenei, they're both the same ideology. The same ideology. They both have sympathy for each other also. Although you can see this is progressive and that one is regressive, but it really, when you check both their ideologies and put them next to each other, you will see both are the same thing. It really doesn't make much difference.
Well, and as you said, here's the Iranian government who is now in bed with Russians after they've been looted by the Russians in the past. And, there's always a possibility that this alliance that they think is going to be so great is going to turn on the Iranians just like it did before. If and when the money runs out, or if there's a better deal someplace else, the enemies that they have that are now their friends can become their enemies again. So, there's always that type of possibility that we hope for something like that in the future. But, again, I just want to say thank you for standing up and being a voice for the American people, and also being a voice for the Iranian people who have, as you've said, nothing to do with this. It's the Iranian government. And again, I know it is important to you and for all of us to remember that it's two separate things, that we can't blame the Iranian people for this. This is the Iranian government, and it's also our United States government who has done this in opposition to at least 78% of the American public who is not for this. So, I know I had you back on today in the very last minute, and I so appreciate your time and your coming on. We have about 3 minutes left. Anything you want to say in closing?
Well, let's not call Iranian government, it's Iranian regime, because people have nothing to do with these people. So
right.
they should be regime, Iranian regime. And I hope that in America they won't keep saying Iranians are this. We don't trust Iranians. Iranians are not trustworthy. Mrs. Clinton has said that. Everybody is saying that. And that really breaks the heart of Iranians, because they believe that now all the Americans think that Iranians are not trustworthy. And that means Iranian people.
And, unfortunately, I think that's true. Americans do think that.
Yeah.
And
so that's hopefully, as time goes on, things would fall in place, in right places. I don't know. I'm hoping. I always look at the half full glass.
Right. And it's a good way. It's hard sometimes after 7 years of the same thing of looking at it that way, but you're absolutely right. We really need to look at it and say there's always possibilities that, again, divine intervention, some other political thing is going to take place. I know Ted Cruz talks about different things and says, this is very simply, this deal could be undone, but again, that the GOP is not going to do it. And there's always hope for the next president of coming in, that the next president is not a progressive left Democrat that can change what this president has put into place. We can always hope for that. So Amanda, until next time, again, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for all that you do. And keep up the good work that you do. I know that we see you on the Glenn Beck show a lot, and you've been on his For the Record and documentaries, speaking out about what's going on and letting the American public know, and essentially letting the world know about this deal and everything else that's going on. Zanda Mand Ervin, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for giving me your time to speak to American people.
You are very welcome. Come back anytime.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So there you have it. I am so glad that there are voices like Manda's that do speak up, that also talks to us about the difference between this Iranian regime, as she's called it, and the people of Iran. I think just like us here, we don't want to be associated with some of the deals that are being made that we have no part of, and yet we're blamed for that, and we are going to be looked at as this deal is something that the American people sanctioned. We know it's not. We need to let everybody else know it's not. And we need to start standing up like Manda does and going and speaking out when we have a voice to do that. It is so important. This country is not lost as long as we, the American people, are willing to stand up and tell the world the truth about who we are and what we agree and don't agree with. So I thank you so much for all that you do. I thank you so much for being here today. And until next time, God bless you. Get out there, speak up, stand up for the truth.